So our final panelist for today is Dr. Kristi Treinen. Kristi joins us from MSU Mankato. She's been our mentor for a long time, so I was thrilled when she agreed to come over and share her storytelling. She's been doing some professional storytelling over the last year or so, I believe, right? So 2 years, roughly. And so she's going to share what storytelling means to her now.
You know when your students are like, I follow that. That's powerful. It brought back a lot of memories for me of when they came into my office. I think Julie did all. Oh, maybe I need to do this. It brought back some memories. I'm hiding behind this, so I'm going to stand up anyway. Lord knows I have to stand up all the time when I talk, but it brought back a lot of memories from being with them, and it brought back memories of where you guys used to live and stuff too while you were telling stuff. Very powerful, and that's, for me, what storytelling has done is given a voice to some subjects that, personally for me, I didn't know if existed. And what Larry brings up, so many things that you all talked about in terms of why storytelling is important just really resonate with me. Storytelling for me began because I'm a teacher, and so I tell personal stories all the time. I started teaching a large lecture hall back in 2002. I hated all 12 years of it. But I would share stories about my kids because I call my kids my little incubators. They're now 23 and 19 and 14, almost 15. And they really are examples of communication in action, right? And how we learn to communicate with other people and connect with them. But students always saw that as me, I would get it all the time on my evals, that I was just full of myself. Okay, I'm like, what stories? Right? Stories. And maybe I was a little full of myself, right? I love my kids. My kids were very central to my life. But today, where storytelling has taken me more professionally, that is, I think, especially what Ben and Julie articulated about writing things down. A few years ago, I crashed and burned in a big way, okay? And so I wrote it was actually right, I think Ben was in the program, but Julie came the next year to be with him, and well, I think they were living together, but into the program with him. And I went on sabbatical, and when I went on sabbatical, I went into rehab. It just magically happened that way. Sabbatical is not for rehab. That is not why they give you, that's not why they give you sabbatical. I had to apply for it a year before that. I call that God's work, or spiritual sort of experience, where that just all aligned. Okay, so I wrote this performance through storytelling, through telling my story actually to myself. It was a very private blog. I was able to work through what happened. Why did that happen to me? Who am I? I'm 40 years old. I have no idea at that time who I even am anymore. I know I'm a mother. I know I'm a professor. I know I'm a wife. But I don't have a clue who I am. Okay? And so that's where my storytelling came, and I wrote this. I brought my little black book, and they were teasing me a little bit about it, but really it's because when my stories were woven together by somebody, the three of us know well, Megan Orcholski helped me turn it into a performance, I could never leave the book. Not really sure why. So this is filled with my stories. But today, what started to happen is after I told the story and performed it, what I learned is that people connected with it. At first, I was afraid that it was just going to be, people would think that I was, somebody said, like, too self-serving, you know, with it. But really what I found when people heard my story was, wow, people could really learn from that. You might actually, people could connect with what happened to you, and you might give them a voice. So I found myself to become a voice. So then I sort of went into this, what Talitha talked about was some of the, she told you a little bit about that I work with nurses to help them tell their stories and to, how they connect with families. Finally, where I'm at today, what I've been working on is a story, and I haven't told it real publicly yet. I've told bits and pieces about it, and I'm super emotional today, so I don't know what's going to happen today. I was crying on the way here, and then their story, and things are going on. Okay, so keep those coming, those numbers. So how many of you have ever lost your keys? Multiple times, right? I lose my keys all the time. I'm 46. Oh my God, I'm 46 now. And I actually probably lose my keys more often than I would like to admit. And then once I find them, I go, oh my God, that's where they were, right? And today, I was supposed to be coming, obviously, here to Marshall, but before that, I had to teach a class at 9 a.m. And I thought when I got to the parking lot at the PA building, Performing Arts, I'm like, I'm gonna clean up my car really quickly. And so I start cleaning out my car, and because I have to go to Marshall, and I'm gonna get lots more goodies that I'm gonna trash in my car on the way there. So I get to my office, I'm like, my keys aren't here, where are my keys? And they're not in my bag, and you may be able to tell from me that I'm a little high-strung, okay? And so I'm tearing apart my bag, because usually they're in there, and they're not in there. So I'm like, I have to go to Marshall today. This isn't even funny. I don't have anyone that can bring me my extra keys. I gotta get to class. So I go to my car, and they're not in my car. I leave my car open, by the way. You can come and steal anything. My dad taught me that, like, if someone really needs your car, let them take it. And I totally agree. And so I'm like, where could they be? So they have to be in the garbage can. Ta-da! Because that's where they were. They were in the garbage can in the bag with my garbage. And I felt as though that was a sign, because today what I wanted to talk, my story I want to tell, this is right into my story, is that, you know, while some of us lose our keys quite often, we eventually find them and we have this moment like, oh, yes. Okay. Well, for my mother, who's 70 years old, losing the keys could mean they're not coming back. Like, she's not going to find them. Okay, my mother is 70 years old, and for the last 2 years, I've been noticing something very different about my mother. There's a blankness to my mom. There's a lot of retelling the same story over and over, and there is a disconnect. And I call my mom what I always say to my brother and sisters, this is the new normal. Okay? So a couple years ago at Christmas in December of 2013, I was home by myself. My kids were with their dad, and my mom had purchased socks for all of us from Costco. They were these awesome socks. But she has like 13, 14 grandchildren. She was a teacher. I always feel like I have to justify why she bought us all socks. I do not have to justify that. It's a perfectly awesome gift. But she put them in bags, and she wrote everybody's names on the bags. My mom's always about presentation at Christmas. I did not get that gift from her. And she kept taking me back to the bedroom and saying, did I get Sydney socks? Did I get Sam? Those are my nieces. Let's check the labels. We went round and round, and I was exhausted. I was like, they're all under the tree. Well, I had to be home by Christmas Day to be with my kids. My sister took my place. And I called my sister later, and she said it didn't go so well. It was the same sort of thing happening. And then I called my mom, and I said, well, how did it go with Carla? And she goes, Carla wasn't here. Something's wrong. Okay. So about a year later, I finally got people to listen to me. My mom has moderate dementia, okay? But we didn't find that out until a couple of weeks, actually about a month ago. I think I was emailing Julie, and I had just literally pretty much found out. We finally got the diagnosis, okay? Only 45% of people and their caregivers know that somebody has dementia, which is like the overarching umbrella with Alzheimer's underneath it, right? That's huge, right? People aren't told they have dementia. And that really shocked me, but it made a lot of sense to me because of my mother and her story. Like, nobody took me seriously. They said, oh, she's probably just tired, okay? You know, she is 70 years old. I don't care, 70 is young, and I'm 46. I want to be 70 and feel young. So, but I also know my mom, and I don't see her as often as other people, so I knew something was up. Finally, a doctor, after 3 visits in an ambulance to the emergency room, because she also has Lyme disease now, but which some people think is actually going to be the solution to what is happening. People are looking for in her life that love her are looking for solutions to what's wrong with her. Okay, but at that time, at one of those visits, finally somebody said she has moderate dementia. I don't know that the word moderate matters. What matters is that I've had to learn to readjust to communicating with my mother. And I've learned some things by going to a Friends of Dementia. It's a community group, okay, a community group in Mankato, and it's really cool. And I would encourage all of you, as you listen to the story, to look at, there's a place called actonalls.org. It's a website. And what they do is they put on community talks to help people learn how to talk through and communicate with people with dementia, because they can live, right, for 10 to 15 years. and still should be able to live a quality life. And so I've been struggling with my mom, and it's the new normal, and she forgot my birthday, and I called her 3 days later, and I found out she thought I was 49. Not 49. And and I'm like, no, I'm 46, and you can tell there's this distance I was just talking to her actually 2 days ago. I have to go to Rochester with her next week, and I was talking to her, and she said, yeah, at church I was looking for Kristi and Carla on the wall. Kristi's me. And so this has sort of been my new normal, and this is the story that I'm trying to get out there, because I didn't know what it was like to communicate with somebody who was going through some, brain loss issues, but that yet they still can have a productive life. And instead of getting frustrated, there's a way for me to actually help my mom have a better life. Do I have any time left? Okay, last story then. This is the last story I want to tell you why I think that it's important to share stories like this. I was in the CVS pharmacy the other day, and there was a woman ahead of me, and it was clear to me she was not able to communicate with the pharmacy tech. And so she kept wanting to give the pharmacy tech her bottle of pills that was empty. Like, what about this? What about this? And she was checking out. And the pharmacy tech said, no, it's okay. Your prescription is in the bag. Finally, then she was okay with that. Then it was time to pay and to sign the signature pad. Those little electronic pads that, said one red, on some of them the red is canceling, on some of them the green is go, and, on some of them it's opposite. And she could not process that she needed to write her name and that she was supposed to hit the red button. But the pharmacy tech just kept insisting, hit the red button, hit the red button. Now hit the red button, that's the credit button. Okay, so I recognized this all going on, and so I just stepped in, and I said, this is the red button right here, let's press this one. And I tried to give her solutions, and that's what I'm learning, is you can tell somebody, who's going through this that hit the red button from this far away, and they're not going to process that information. And so it was a moment where I'm like, this is why it happened, so that I can help other people. And so that woman was my mom, right? At that moment, that was my mom. Sorry. I've never told this publicly, so I was afraid this was going to happen, but that's the beauty in storytelling, right? Beauty in storytelling. Learning about others, so all in there.